So for problem number 15, we're being asked to find f inverse of x. So remember the steps are, we're going to take f of x and we're going to plug in a y. So this becomes y equals negative 5 halves times x minus 15 halves. Step 2, we're going to solve for x equals some stuff. So let's do that. What's not fun about this is that I have 2's in there. So if I multiply this side, in other words, I have fractions, this over 2, this over 2. An old trick is if I multiply everything by 2, I can eliminate that. In other words, when I multiply this by 2, I'm going to be left with just negative 5x. When I multiply this by 2, because the 2's will cancel. In other words, this 2 will cancel with this 2, but it also will cancel with this 2. So I get 5x minus 15 is equal to 2y. And if you think about it, it makes sense. If I were to solve for y, I'd divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. I'm just doing it backwards. Still not done solving for x. So now I'm going to add 15 to both sides. And I get 2y plus 15 equals negative 5x. Divide everything by negative 5. And I get 2y plus 15 is equal to x. Oh, this. So then the last step is to swap the x and y. So I'm going to get 2x plus 15 over negative 5 equals y. So that means, so that was step 3, by the way, was we're going to take x and we're going to swap it with y. Lastly, we plug in the, wherever there's a y, I'm going to plug in the f inverse notation. So this becomes 2x plus 15 all over negative 5. Now I'm pretty sure that's the right answer. How can I double check? Obviously I'm just going to graph that. I am going to, because I'm curious, I'm going to drop down and check it real quick on the oh, they reduce it. When I double check the answer, it is the right answer, but they reduce it. So what they did is they said, okay, well, let's do negative 2 divided by, well, let me do this differently. 2 divided by negative 5. They split up the denominator times x. And then plus 15 divided by negative 5. So in the next line, you get f inverse of x is equal to negative 2 over 5 x minus 3. Okay. So then we're going to graph that and then see what we get. All right. So I'm going to plug this into Desmos. So I'm going to plug in my original function, which is negative 5 divided by 2 times x minus 15 divided by 2. Then in my next one, I'm going to do this last one where it's negative 2 divided by 5 x minus 3. And then lastly, do this real quick. I'm going to plot my y equals x. I want to see if that crosses the diagonal. It does, right there. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Yesterday, some kids got mad at me because they said that my graph didn't match their graph, which I thought was funny. You got to look at the numbers sometimes. So like in Desmos, the numbers you have doesn't always match up. In other words, what they frame on your test, if I give you a multiple choice test, the numbers will match up, but it might look a little different, right? So I've got this. But this graph looks way different than, say, this graph. But not really. You got to match up the numbers. You got to check at the numbers, and you got to scroll in and try to match up the numbers. But anyways, let's put this on here, because on this particular question they do ask for you to find the graph. Oh, I should have done that exactly how they do it on the... Yeah, I should have done it. Let me change this real quick. So let me go back in here. I think f of x was blue. I think this was blue. I think this was green. And I think we'll make this one orange. And let me take a new screenshot, because I'm sure somebody will be frustrated about that. Now you don't have to, also keep in mind, Mr. Adams is always labeling the functions and stuff, but you do not have to graph the diagonal. Some kids on their homework were getting the problems wrong because they were graphing the diagonal and they didn't have to. That's not required. I just do it as a way to double check some things. But if they don't ask you, you got to read the directions. It'll only ask you to graph. Like this is f inverse. And this is f of x. Whatever they ask you to graph is what you're supposed to graph, is what I'm saying.